All right then, Peter Buck, R.E.M, and what's the frequency, Kenneth? We are in standard tuning for this tutorial. Throughout this track we're using 5 chords. D5, which is basically just a D chord without the high E string, A major bar chord, B minor, G, and an E power chord, or you can go into an E major chord. Now the beginning of this track is going to be D to G with a couple of A's thrown in there. Right, so that's the intro. So we're going to just strum on this D, right? And then we're going to move into G, but before we drop into that G, we're going to hit a quick open A string. Right, and then strum that G for a bit and repeat. However, the second time when we repeat this D to G, we're going to come in a beat earlier on this A and give it a good pronounced A power chord before dropping into G, right? Kind of like that, right? And then we drop into the first verse. The first verse is going to be A to D to B minor to G. Before going back to A. And the strumming pattern is down, down, up, down. That down right in the middle is going to be kind of a mute, right? And then we're going to go up, down, down. Kind of like that. With one little downstroke mute right in the middle. So we're going to go, and all the strumming patterns all throughout the verses is like that between all these chord changes. So we're going to go A to D to B minor to G for the first half of the first verse. Back to A, D, A, and then into G. So a little break right in the middle of the verse where we're going to go A to D to A to G. And then we're going to go back to A for the second half of the verse, same as the first, A to D to B minor to G. Back to A, back to D. Now we're leading into the pre-chorus, so coming off that A, we're going to go back into D, then we're going to go back into B minor again, and then we're going to go off to E major very briefly. Very quickly, and then we're going to drop into G for the pre-chorus. But before we do, let's recap from the beginning. Verse. Second half of the verse. B minor, and then off to E major, right? And then we drop into the pre-chorus. So the pre-chorus is going to be G, and we're just going to go from G to A, but we're going to be throwing in little licks like that. So we're going to strum this G a couple of times, then you're going to drop down here to the open D, open G, hammer onto the 2 of the D and back off again. Then grab the 2 of the A and then drop into the A power chord. And then you're going to play a little lick kind of like that. Just hammering on, after you strum that A a couple of times, hammer on 2 to 4, and then just catch this little double stop on the 2s on the upstroke, right? Back to G. Play that lick again. Sometimes he'll double that up, right? Sometimes he'll do this. Drop down to a double stop on the 4s, right? And then we're into the chorus. Now the chorus is going to be D to A, D to G, and then into A. You're going to hang on this A. dropping off to G, you're going to strum that G twice, and then you're going to grab the second fret of the A string here on your way to an A power chord. Kind of like that, right? So the chorus. And repeat. Chorus, you're going to kind of slow things down ever so slightly, and you're going to hit more A power chords here. You're going to hit that A power chord 3 times at the end of the chorus, and then you drop into D, let it ring, drop right into the second verse. And then off to E major, right, leading into the pre-chorus. G, repeat, into the chorus. G, A, hanging it. Repeat. A, D, G, A. Solo at this point. Now, this guitar solo is a backwards guitar solo. He played it and they spun the tape backwards, and so it's kind of hard to going to be kind of hard to replicate this solo. But I've got all the notes, and you know, if you use a wah pedal or something like that, you're not going to get that swirly kind of backwards sound that this solo has. But if you play it like this, it's still going to sound pretty good. It goes something like this. Those are all the notes of the solo, so I'll show you how to play it at least here. 3rd fret of the B string, kind of a little half step bend. Gonna release that pre-bend, right? Off to 2, grab the 4 of the G, and then back to the 3 of the B. Down to the 2 of the high E, and then string skip up to the 4 of the G. Back to the 3 of the B, slow bend release, and then drop onto the 4. Then you're going to go back to the 3 of the B, another slow bend release, and then drop off to the 2 of the G. Kind of like that. And that's about the first half of the solo. So coming off that little slow bend release off to 2 of the G, then you're going to drop onto 4 of the G, down to 3 of the B, off to 2 of the high E. Then you're going to go back up to the 4 of the G, and then a little pull off from 3 off to 2 back onto 3 of the B. Hang on it a bit. Down to the 2 of the high E, back up to the 4 of the G, and then we finish the solo with this. So a little half step bend of the 2 of the high E, onto the 3 of the B, up to the 4 of the G, off to 2, off to open, back onto 2, and then back into D to end the solo. And like I said, it's all swirling backwards, right? So it's kind of hard to replicate. But those are the notes. Back into another verse, back into A. That is how you play What's the Frequency Kenneth by R.E.M. and Peter Buck. Certainly hope you enjoyed that, found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button right down there. Maybe drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind. Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, wherever that may find you, and we will see you next time. Cheers.